Hello and welcome to the program. I am Suren. This time I would like to start with a few repeats of my words which I have spoken for sure last time I was with you, and then continue with what my own experience was with Jehovah's Witnesses and my family. In her imagination, Annette, my daughter, might have considered it as a vision of a ghostly kind. This appears like a comedy sketch at first, but in reality, it is really very sad. My interest and research into spirituality and the world's belief systems was conveniently seen as an evil practice of cultist spiritualism and occult, as per their mother's deliberate input under Jehovah's Witness supervision. Magda, my ex-wife, was vulnerable to hypnotic suggestions and in her gullibility believed in everything made up as stories of my supposed practice of seances, and one of my daughters amplified her belief of my being evil, bypassing anything good regarding my character. In absolute reality, and without bias, they popularly chose to believe that men are stupid and unintelligent. Their general trend is, as it was, that I still remain an ignorant person with evil intentions. After all these years, they left me no choice but divorce them completely as if they never existed. As all my associates and honest and trustworthy friends, even my students, know I am not a dishonest man. I am like an open book for the inquirer and always remain truthful. Alas, my words are interpreted as lies by my so-called family, for they have never really known me, not even attempting to get to know me. I can only say this: there is a principle the whole cosmos is affected by: cause and effect. Within the vast universe, every action is reacted to, and none of us can escape it. Remember what I spoke or wrote previously? Whatever one shouts at a mountain echoes back. However, I feel the urgency to send an open letter to my beloved ex-wife, as it was then, and her wonderful brothers and sisters in faith, although I am certainly that they would never allow her to read or respond to it. I also know that there are a few curious people who are free from the clutches of the ruler of this world, according to the wisdom of Jehovah's Witnesses. They would read it and convey the message to Magda, or else to her dreamt of possessions, namely her extremely honest children. I know, as I hear from various sources, what you preach and teach others in propagandist ways and what you make your offspring believe. Characteristics of dishonesty you assume to have discovered in me after much convincing from your brothers and sisters in your congregations. You tell your children the selective words in absolute deliberation to ask their father to be a man for once and teach Claude the difference between what is right and what is wrong, even though you preach that I am an evil man. Obviously, you still consider him as a young teenager, although he has become an adult. Besides, have you not taught him the righteous ways of God under the direction and strict control of your dear brothers in faith? Did I hear it wrongly when you asked your daughter, who literally leads you like a puppet master, to tell me to be honest for once and tell the truth? Here is my next question for all the concerned and allegedly honest people, particularly the witnesses. Has Magda always been telling the truth? I cannot forget your words in response to my love to you. Love can grow. Maybe it grows on trees, and so keep watering, Magda. Keep watering. Believing all the lies you have been force-fed by those who supposedly represent Jehovah and those who are your offspring, only telling untruths while also displaying their total dishonesty in every way just to please you, making you believe in things which never existed. Do tell me where the real honesty has gone. Now, swallow your own words for once. I hope you will be able to digest them, that is, if you have any love left in your heart. Observe the lifestyles of your daughters without bias and tell me the truth for once. Have you been a good parent? Did you really teach them anything honest through your actions? What about their children? None of them have any respect for themselves or others who are a lot older than them. Before judging me with the opinions of others, tell me for once the real truth. Can they, the representatives of Jehovah, be so righteous when they do everything possible to destroy lives? You asked me to tell you the truth, and I always have. Now it is your turn. Do the right thing and be honest for once. After so many years, I believe that, without assuming, Magda has never changed, just like her beloved brothers in faith. It is known for a fact, and not in a prejudicial way, that the witnesses can only hate forever, believing this to be the will and divine principle of their God, Jehovah. There are an increasing number of people awakening today and realizing that they were led to believe in grave lies and dishonesty while adhering to the Watchtower Publishing Company. I believe that Magda would use every available opportunity today to stop any development between her children and their father in a positive direction. In all honesty, I can therefore never ever trust her. For whenever, for example, my son's girlfriend visited her, Magda was ever ready to make use of the opportunity to complain to her regarding my characteristics, as she assumes them to be, advising his girlfriend to help Claude break any connection and communication with his father. She would do so in the name of the righteousness of Jehovah. What I am now going to say might be quite a surprise for the witnesses and their supporters. I have known Magda better, having lived with her as husband and wife for over a decade. Therefore, I am very cognizant with her characteristics and her mental state. It is extremely healthy to question what is real and what is false. It is healthy to doubt things until there is reasonable proof which can be substantiated. I personally am forever thankful to everybody, friends and relatives, for their input. They indeed have assisted me greatly to the reality that everything experienced, told, and read needs to be thoroughly examined and analyzed in an unbiased way. I learned that not everything one has been told could be the absolute truth. Things we are taught have been proven to be not always correct, and we have to adapt to changing circumstances. I cannot accept things at face value, although religions encourage blind faith. Besides, as human beings, we are capable of dreaming, and this occupies much of our daily existence. Therefore, everything we know can also be part of our dreaming and imagining minds, and not necessarily the absolute reality upon which we seem to build our lives. Everything good or bad we experience remains like remembered dreams, and it seems that nothing is of any value in the long run, for all things pass. However, the knowledge gained and wisdom learned need to be for a reason, and that is when we start pondering on the necessity for continued existence. Otherwise, all our experiences of life are worthless, and if this is so, what is left and what really matters? A question for you to ponder on. It is very easy to criticize and condemn others for having different opinions, or even having discovered what the real truth may be. The witnesses, among many other cults, are excellent in this with their extreme negativity. Listening to both parties may be a good idea, but it needs to be without bias, without participating in any fanaticism, and without prejudice. We all need our blank canvases so that we can paint our own colors on them. One needs not be frightened for being uniquely one's own self, for life continually happens, and we cannot describe our conscious experience of it. Albert Schweitzer writes, "As we acquire more knowledge, things do not become more comprehensive, but more mysterious. Every day of our lives we learn. However, we take advantage. Do we take advantage of what we learn, or keep repeating the same mistakes over and over? I sometimes wonder, often asking why we have to experience the same discordances just like I did, but I have no answer. When I moved to Anora Crescent with Rosemary, I began a thorough research into my brother's whereabouts, for I had not heard from him for a very long time. To be more precise, since the mid-1980s. Every attempt I made ended in similar results. He had disappeared from the face of the earth. How could it be? As if he was living on another world or in another dimension. However, when I went to live in Endeavour Hills, I made a meaningful connection. In reality, I conducted my research through the internet and relevant authorities all around the world, through Interpol and even the FBI, as well as placing ads through higher educational organizations in the States, Europe, and even Turkey. The West Virginia University informed me that my brother had left for Turkey and was working at the Selçuk University as a lecturer in their physics department. When I contacted them, they provided me with a number of names similar to that of my brother's alleged identity. However, none seemed to recognize him, although he most certainly worked with them. By the time I was able to communicate with him, he had been made redundant. I wondered what had happened to him after such an early retirement. Could it have anything to do with the Turkish government at the time? For they were, according to the current political atmosphere, sadly lacking in human rights issues, as with the minority groups and others in their country. Was about to give up. with my research, but somehow one of his sons, Barish, contacted me through social media, advising me that he was very doubtful whether his father wanted to communicate with me. But he did not know why. I wondered what lies he had been furnished with. Did he perhaps think that I was involved with the witnesses and he was uninterested in their ways, thus not wanting to have anything to do with them? Saddened, I told Barish to relay my message to his father, which was this: I love him as my brother, no matter what happens, even if we never talk to each other. A short while later, my brother sent me a message and gave me his address and phone numbers. From then on, I started producing DVD video discs, partially speaking in broken Turkish, as I had not used this language for a long time, and in English, although he had not practiced it for a considerable period. In those programs, I explained all about my interests, my educational achievements, and current family situation, correcting some of the false assumptions I was subjected to from my now ex-family and their friends. In those assumptions, I was considered lost to the fanatical Jehovah's Witness faith. When he discovered what I was really interested in academically, had studied, researched into, and experimented with, apart from my university engagements and group activities, he was relaxed and very happy. After I had introduced him to a variety of social media connections, such as Skype and Messenger, we began communicating in earnest 2 or 3 times a week, enjoying the experience. He was living in Denizli, a beautiful township close to the city of Izmir, historic Smyrna, and Ephesus in Turkey. I remember what he once said in regard to living there before his journey while still in the States. I feel indebted. He chose to live in Turkey partly due to our father's desire to stay there. However, I could see how he now regretted his decision to leave the US. He lived with our parents and was married to a Turkish woman. They had 2 sons, but got divorced for many reasons he did not wish to speak of. Our father had passed on with prostate-related complications, resulting in kidney failure. But our mother lived to a ripe old age, still maintaining her alertness, although she went blind in one of her eyes, close to the time of her passing. They had erected a simple gravestone for our father, but mother's had not been completed yet. Haldun's facial expressions and body language declared that he had much heartache and broken dreams, which he confirmed over time. He was very disillusioned with his ex-wife, who had been allegedly instructing their sons, when very young, to tackle their grandmother, our mother, helping her to fall, sticking their legs out in front of her so that she would quickly die. Maybe there was a huge psychological issue here that he had to deal with in regard to his then family and his current lifestyle. But I do not know the actual background of his personal affairs, as he did not disclose much. His first partner was bitter, possibly due to him belonging to the assumed dog race, as this was a very likely scenario in Turkey. His university appointment as a physicist and lecturer continued after moving to Denizli. He met a former student who was 16 years his junior. They got married, but their current marriage has been bitterly criticized by his former wife. According to what he so eagerly explained, his first son chose to live with his mother, whereas the second one was living independently and was involved in musical interests, playing bass guitar in a group. He was also the closest to my brother, occasionally staying at his place. After his studies, he was conscripted to the military for just a few months. When I met him over Skype, he had long hair with a ponytail, just like me, making me think that it ran in the family. He also had similar views like the American natives and New Age philosophies. I often spoke about the human brain and mind over matter related subjects with him. Recently he won a place at a music academy and was learning classical piano. Again, an uncanny resemblance to my interests, as with my love of piano music. He was a joy to speak to, although not too amicable with my brother's current partner, often blaming her for his father's ill health, due to him having had a quadruple bypass operation. Haldun was still experiencing intermittent discomfort and pain in his chest. He had also been an extremely heavy smoker and therefore developed emphysema and was on medication. My brother had developed interesting hobbies, such as 3D photography, building model aircraft, flying model helicopters, and stargazing with his telescope from their balcony. Most certainly very appropriate interests for a physicist like him. He happily sent me pictures of his environment, and those related to his hobbies through social media, which I thoroughly appreciated. Denizli certainly contains incomparable natural beauty and delightful flora. Because of the time difference, we celebrated the New Year twice, toasting it in together. He became a New Ager after his discoveries of the esoteric sciences and spirituality, showing particular interest in literature such as Conversations with God and Crayon, translated into several languages, including Turkish. He eagerly sent me a few of those books, and we had great debates concerning them. However, his partner delighted in constantly complaining about men who were apparently the lowest of all creatures, and therefore all the fault in today's world was instigated by them everywhere around the globe. Probably she did not know anything better. I am sure she was not too happy when I made mention of human rights issues, and that both genders were responsible for the condition in today's societies. According to information, Miriam had a serious medical condition due to a brain hemorrhage, needing a lengthy recovery, during which she had a near-death experience and astral outings, apparently meeting our space brothers, and could allegedly prophesy future events. But I could only take it all with a pinch of salt, since I did not know her well. However, my brother adored and worshipped her. Although extremely intelligent and not normally believing everything spoken as being true, Haldun took his wife's predictions very seriously. They also had a psychic development group at their home, but certain unacceptable behavior concerning the group leader towards Meryem was not appreciated, thereby leading them to abandon the experience. Both Haldun and his wife were keenly interested in animal welfare, caring for neglected cats and dogs. They had a small dog, a fluffy white bundle of joy. They called Kardelen. When the poor animal died, my brother was thoroughly devastated. During his post-operation days, another rescued dog, which was blind in one eye due to rough handling previously, became their new pet, and they called him Lazy. Unfortunately, this one caused some concern to him, and as a result, his son Baruch argued with Meryem once more regarding his father's health. Later, I discovered that Baruch was communicating with Birgit in Perth and was encouraged to go and stay with her for she apparently promised to look after him. I warned him that she was struggling with her own life, and personally, I would be very cautious due to my own experiences and being blamed for every mishap which had happened within the family, wherein the real culprits were ignored. He took that wrongly, complaining to Maryam that I was painting my daughter inappropriately, and she was probably far better. Alas, when any issue is being raised in regards to my ex-family situation, I have always been blamed for every mishap, and lots of untruths have been told about me in support of her all-knowing mother and the Jehovah's Witnesses. From then on, I prefer to have no further communication with mentally biased people. Maybe he understood me as if I did not want him to come to Australia, but that was not my intention. Even after his conscription service into the Turkish military, we hardly had any communication. My brother was extremely unhappy about his father-in-law, who was only a year older than me, and was commanding him to do things according to his own set of rules and regulations, as if Haldun was a misbehaving child. As a result, he would not let Maryam's father into their home. Her mother spent a lot of time in hospital, and therefore Maryam needed to spend more time with her parents in the nearby village. My brother was also exceedingly unhappy at being left alone for days. But as he explained, his hobbies were keeping him alive. He was also annoyed with the majority of their Turkish neighbors and friends, and their complaints about his hobbies and interests, and developed a fear of intrusion by those people. However, he was very excited to listen to my radio programs broadcast from Melbourne, Australia, on local station, but also over the internet, and recorded them, sending me almost all those recordings through social media. As time went by, and I was living in Stanley Street, Frankston, I continually corresponded with him. There came a time when I decided to put videos of my discussions on social media through YouTube for all interested people, and the response from all around the world was fantastic. I also included a few video discourses about my own story and partial involvement with a cultist group through my unfortunate marriage to a Jehovah's Witness. Alas, my brother found them a little boring due to his lack of English, and told me he could only listen for 5 or 10 minutes at a time. In fact, it was not important to me whether he listened to them or not, for they were out there for those who were interested in hearing these stories and discussions. He was disturbed about what my daughter and had complained to Barish about me telling only lies, as per her training by her mother. During 2014-15, my brother had his cataracts corrected and was extremely happy about being able to see well again. He often spoke to me about how our lives were very similar to each other, almost running on parallel lines. One day I decided to put some of our treasured childhood and family-related photographs on the internet using Facebook. Although my brother had heard nasty stories about such sites, he was very happy to see our family pictures on the net. Amongst our black and white childhood images, one was what our mother and her sister, our auntie, had professionally made available, wherein I was dressed like a tiny sailor and my little brother was dressed like a girl, as was the commonly accepted trend in those days. It was probably just for the fun of it, and was also fashionable to have such photographs taken in professional studios. Those images had been there for a long time before my brother noticed them. He was extremely perturbed about that one photograph, probably due to being criticized, laughed at, and told stupid jokes as if he had a sex change, making him feel embarrassed. He was now saying how bad he felt about it, demanding that I remove it forthwith and replace it with another image which he sent, or he was going to stop communicating with me altogether and be gone. I pondered about this unusualness on his part for a long time, thinking that perhaps he was under pressure, probably forced to stop communicating with me by someone close to him for some absurd reason. And this was his excuse. Somebody was creating stories to make him regret his connection with me as revenge, perhaps after their disillusionment due to his desire not to see his father-in-law. Then again, that could be somebody else, not necessarily related to him. At the time, I thought that Haldun was obviously easily manipulated. I removed that cute image, which I have colored later. It was an image of no significance almost immediately, but did not replace it with the other, as he demanded. Shortly after, I received yet another message from him, where he wrote that I should know how much I had hurt him with that image posted on social media, and until it was removed, it was going to be no longer available. Although I had previously written several messages telling him how much I loved him as my brother, asking how he was, he never replied. Obviously, he was angry and resentful towards me. He had previously repeating and telling me that he would never break the link. But this latter attitude was quite a concern. I waited for a long time, well over a month, but still heard nothing, leaving me to wonder how people can change so quickly. I shall leave this one here for the moment, wishing you a very beautiful day. I shall see you again by the next episode. Until then, keep smiling and be happy. Thank you.